man.
I mean, I'm speechless.
And, you know,
Smiling George, you did it again. Oh, man.
Hello and welcome to Speed Sport Live from Seafair 2023, presented by Toyota. Hello everybody, I'm Dave Arnold, joined alongside Eric Allred. Erica, wow, what a busy weekend we've had so far.
A busy weekend, but an exciting weekend. All of the racing has been absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to see how this one all unfolds in the end.
And we've had a couple of heat races going on. There's a lot of great stuff going on too.
Yep, absolutely. Aside from all of the heat races and the boat racing, we've got the Blue Angels, we've got all of the BMX stuff, we've got a packed shoreline. It's truly a family fun event, and that's clearly showing by the turnout we've got here.
And it was so cool to see the vintage unlimited hydroplanes, the old Miss Budweiser, the old, I believe it's the Atlas van lines that Bill Muncie used to drive. So very cool to see a lot of that. So I got a big question though. What's the buzz going on down in the area here?
Dave, there's a lot that goes on in H1 racing and in our production in general, and we have to have all of the right tools to make that all possible. And our producer, Jared, is one of the busiest people, and he's always running around and buzzing around the pits.
Wait, Jared, what's the buzz?
I gotta buzz all the way to the other side of the lake and take this
Well,
up.
buzz on over there. Get out of there.
Bye, bye, bye.
She's out, right? Man, what a busy day, I can tell you. Boy, Jared is on the run, always getting our stuff there. But speaking of busy, we got a busy Sunday schedule up there. 8:55 a.m., we're going to have the H1 testing. 11 a.m., we're going to have the H1 Heat 3A. 11:15, right after that, H1 Heat 3B. At 2:30, of course, the H1 final. And, of course, all times are Pacific Standard Time. This is the chase for the APBA Gold Cup. So lots of great stuff going on, but there's one guy that's not going to make it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Speed Sport Live from Seafair 2023, presented by Toyota. Everybody, I'm Dave Arnold, and we have my new friend, Brent Hall, coming over. He's the driver of the U440, Miss Boitano Homes.
you got it.
So,
Yeah, Boitano Homes.
Awesome to have you
follow
here.
you.
You're not a stranger to this sport,
I'm not.
and your big thing right now has been trying to qualify this year.
It has. We're doing it one lap at a time. I'll tell you that.
Literally one lap at a time.
Yeah, we got one left, and I know that was in the newspaper, but boy, the support that I'm getting from family, from work friends, from Aaron,
did you hear
name it.
by the way
I'm just
we
getting
said the
pushed
buzz?
over the line. We got one more to do.
So you got out there yesterday.
Yep.
You had 2 laps to qualify.
I know.
And only got 1.
Yeah, that was hard. So, but
Are you going to throw the hatch up and start paddling
no,
there?
you know, someone said that. Someone said drop the hatch and put some fins on.
Doing the Flintstones.
Yeah.
There you go. That's so
but,
awesome.
you know, we're so close. And it was a good lap. But I could tell the turbine was whining just a little bit. I knew something was going on. And then as a driver, I need to watch my gauges. So I saw my gauges starting to go up. It was like 160 degrees, 170, 180, 220, 250. Smoke started coming in.
Yeah, you're
and
cooking
I was like,
stuff at that point. Yeah.
Yep. So I knew where we were at. But we were also so really close to history. So it's a hard thing.
It would be the first Afro-American driver to ever drive and qualify for unlimited hydroplanes.
Yes.
So that's quite a step right there, my friend.
It is. And, you know, I'm really following in my mentor, Harold Mills, his footsteps. He got laps but never got officially qualified. So right now I'm at 14 laps. I need one more, and that one more needs to be at 130 or higher. And then you can go ahead and drop some confetti. How's that?
I'd definitely be your biggest supporter on there. I love talking with you, and the story that you have is so special.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to start off. You grew up right across the way.
It's no joke, right? I mean, I can see where my house is. The only difference is there's a $20 million mansion there instead of our house. That's all right, yeah.
So you grew up watching this sport.
I did.
You said you came over, you're geeking out on all this horsepower, all the cool stuff.
Yes, yeah. What's funny is I've always been in the pits.
Yeah.
I know there's people that go on the log boom. I've always been in here, collecting buttons, collecting the Seafair magazine, and I just loved it. And I never knew that I was going to drive one until much later in life.
And there's also something very special, to everyone here to watch. It is the fact that you had kidney cancer.
Sure.
And you had a 9% chance of making it.
Yep, in 5 years, it said I have a 9% chance of being here in 5 years. It's 5 years, buddy.
5 years. I love it.
Yeah, feeling good.
And you're going fast.
And I'm going fast. And actually, the truth is, so I'm doing we have a not-for-profit sponsor called Fred Hutch Obliteride, and that's a ride that happens the week after Seafair. And I'll be one of the keynote speakers there, and we're talking about cancer awareness. So there was a clinical trial that became official when I was going through it, and it worked. It was stage 4, so it had spread to my lungs. And we're in a much better place. I was in a boat 3.5 months later, and went through immunotherapy for 2 years, and now you're looking at me, and we're ready to box. Let's go.
And seeing the infectious smile that he has, the people, and it's the interaction with the fans and the people, and I think that's one of the things. It's made you more hungry to get this, to get that final lap, to get your dream.
It has. And, when we walked, there were so many people just saying, man, I'm so proud of you. I want you to get it. And I just think that kind of support is going to drive us over. Yep. And actually, maybe it just even tells a different story, that no different than cancer. Boy, you just have to keep going. One step at a time, one lap at a time. We'll make it. We'll make it.
That's what life is about.
That's right. That's right.
I am so glad to have you here to be
part
of this.
My pleasure, yeah.
And hopefully we'll maybe get you back and talk a little bit more. We'll get you on the desk and since you don't have to, go back out.
I may have just a little bit more free time. So yeah, I'd love to chat.
We would definitely have it. So stick around. We got a lot more folks here from the Speed Sport Live from Seafair 2023, presented by Toyota.
Thanks, Dave. We were just able to wrap up our second heats of the day, and I've got one of our winners, J. Michael Kelly, with us. J. Michael, although you got the win, this one was no easy feat as you battled it out with the U91 of Andrew Tate. How did you manage that game of defense you had to play for the seat 2 win?
Oh, man, I mean, it really strategy. We'd been practicing all weekend long. Our first heat didn't really go the way we wanted, and that heat we just more in protect mode, and doing so tore the boat up pretty bad. So guys are going to be busy, unfortunately. But, man, that was a pretty good battle. It was exciting, and it's, that's what it's about. And, glad we got the Beacon Electric U8 out front and came away with the heat win. It was a much-needed win for myself today.
It was definitely an exciting one for all of us to witness on shore. But, J. Michael, congratulations on this heat win. We look forward to seeing you back out there tomorrow. Dave, what a great race.
Great races, right, Erica? And also congratulations to Corey Peabody, who took the Heat 2B winner. And you can see right now we've gotten here the Blue Angels over my shoulder. We're wrapping up the day here. We got the air show going on. So, folks, you got to make sure you tune into the H1 Unlimited YouTube page to watch all this live. But to get all the up-to-date information and, of course, to check all the stuff on Speed Sport Live from, presented by Toyota, make sure you check out all our social media channels. And we'll see you next time on the water.
Welcome to Speed Sport, live from Seafair, presented by Toyota. We've got some drama developing down on the pits here at Seafair. Looks like the gearbox is getting ready to be torn apart here. So what all are we doing? We've got gear ratios, we got all kinds of stuff. Wonderful stuff going on, Jamie. So with me is Jamie Nielsen from the Old Cannery Warehouse. And Jamie, talk to me a little bit about your day-to-day and what they're doing down there in the pits. It looks like that gearbox is coming apart.
Yeah, so it was a great day today. I mean, can't start your weekend out any better than a first place and 400 points. So whole team was really excited about that, and it's just a good way to start the weekend. But yes, the gearbox is in pieces right now. It is not being repaired. It is hopefully being improved for tomorrow. So unfortunately, last weekend we lost a gearbox. That means we only have one. So if we want to change our ratio, we actually physically have to take it apart and change the gears. And that's what you see going on right now. the crew's working their tails off to get that done, and this is all in an effort to go faster tomorrow.
No, it looks right. And I was talking to Scott Rainey down there, the owner and crew chief of this thing, and he was telling me, you know, obviously that second heat didn't go as good. He learned some stuff about what you needed, so they're fortunate to have the gear ratio to put in there. So, you know, there it comes apart. You heat things up. You put bolts back together again, and you know, I know you're going to have a better part, and you're going to have some more competition tomorrow, and you hopefully have a better boat ride and boat speed, boat acceleration, mainly, right?
That's the goal. So these gears we're putting in now are, they call them a little shorter gear. It's a little lower ratio, so it's almost like shifting your car from third gear to second gear.
Yeah.
And as you can see today, those guys definitely ate me up coming off the corners. So we're looking for as much acceleration as we can get tomorrow to really give these guys a run for their money.
So tell me this. You know, referees are good, but sometimes they miss stuff, right? So I was watching that race a little bit, and I noticed there was some shenanigans going on inside. Looks like the Goodman real estate boat came across and kind of tried to take a lane from you, but you were smart enough to accelerate up. Walk me through that and tell me what you saw.
Well, yeah, I saw the Goodman boat coming and trying to steal my lane one that I had camped out that whole milling period. But I was confident in my marks. I knew I had a little bit to where I could speed up and defend my lane and block him from coming in there. But I also knew I had Mike Kelly on my hip. I had a red boat right there that had been following me most of the time. And when I saw him go behind me, I thought, oh boy, I don't know where he's going because there's not a lot of room. And
Beacon Electric boat was right there, and you did good by squeezing up. And so people have to know that if you're coming across a course, you actually have to go on the course and pass 2 straightaway buoys to establish a lane. Well, he had not done that, and he came behind the boat, so he wasn't in a lane, no established lane. So, you know, for him to go through that and to see what happened and what he did to J. Michael Kelly, looking at that, the cowling on that boat and the diagonals that I saw loose coming in is something that I think they hopefully can address here in the future, and I'm sure there'll be some words, right?
Oh, I know there's already been some words, so
Okay.
This is only day one.
It's
the drama's
H1.
already building.
It's H1, and it's the Gold Cup, right?
Exactly.
You're going to have that stuff.
Exactly.
But, hey, bottom line is be safe tomorrow, be consistent, and do the very best thing you can do for, you know, Old Cannery Warehouse. Perkins Glass is on your boat now, too, which is
Perkins
cool.
Glass is there. Legend Yacht Transport's been supporting us all year, and we've got the Trust Company here, too, so been a lot of fun representing them.
Well, that's great. So follow along with us at speedsport.com and all of our social media outlets. This wraps up this edition of Speed Sport, live from Seafair, presented by Toyota.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to day 3 of 3 of the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup and APBA Gold Cup on Lake Washington in Seattle. Good morning to those of you who are joining us on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel on our live stream program here. It is approaching 9 o'clock here on the West Coast. We are about to have boats on the water here for testing for, as I said, day 3 of 3 here. This is Gold Cup Sunday. It's race day. It's always a big day when you can say that. Yes, I'm a traditionalist. I go back to the time when all we had was racing on Sunday and Sunday only. Obviously, things have changed over the last number of years, and we race on Saturday and Sunday. But race day will always be Sunday to me. I am joined in my broadcast position this morning, again, as I have been the last couple of days, by the man who needs no introduction. That would be John Walters. John, you all wired up over there? Good morning.
I think I am. I got fresh coffee. I'm all wired up. My mic got turned up today so people can hear me, and I'm ready to talk about this.
You are loud in my ears. So, yes, I've got you good. We're good to go, and we're going to have fun. I was just making the comment, today's race day.
It is race day, and Sunday at our home and our house has always been race day. Some race days are better and worse than others, but it's always race day, and I'm kind of finding out as I get older here, every day in my life is race day, so I'm excited about it all the time.
There you go. So we have on the screen the points that our teams have earned so far through Friday's qualifying and yesterday's racing. We did run 4 heats of racing yesterday, heats 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. And to our fans watching, you see on the screen there the points that have been earned. Our leader at the top, Corey Peabody, he's got 870 points that he has picked up so far this weekend. The 800 comes from 2 400-point first-place finishes yesterday. He was our 3rd fastest qualifier. He gets 70 points for that. The graphic is now gone from the mirror, but he's our top point getter. We're going to run down those points as Bobby King prepares to come away from the dock in the U12, the Graham Trucking, and that's a boat and a guy I want to talk about because I am really, really impressed with this kid. I call him a kid because he's just not very old, and you and I can get away with that.
Absolutely, and Bobby does a great job. He's got a lot of experience coming into the Unlimiteds here with the Grand Prix stuff. Just won a great race in a Grand Prix boat in Valleyfield against some of the fastest boats in the country. He does a great job. Comes from a long line of good boat racers. His dad Jimmy, pretty popular here in Seattle for driving the U3 and has been seen here a lot of times. Got a lot of experience and right now Bobby now is starting to make up some of his experience and getting his resume in order here as he moves on, and I think he's going to do a great job this weekend.
I think he is too, and in fact he already is doing that. I had a conversation with him in the pit area this morning. There is nobody in the Pacific Northwest save you and I who is having more fun than Bobby King. He is just having the time of his life. I guess his phone has just been blowing up with his friends and people and family getting in touch with him. And the kid's doing a great job. He got qualified completely as an H1 Unlimited driver last weekend in the Tri-Cities, and you and I commented on it yesterday. He's free to go run and race and start anywhere he wants to go. He put himself in lane 2 in his first heat, and then you and I were watching closely, and he maneuvered himself into lane 1 in his second heat. Unfortunately, he overpaid a little bit for that inside lane and got caught going under 80 miles an hour, and he lost what was a very solid second-place finish. Not only Bobby King, but I had conversations in the pit area this morning with the crew on this boat because I cannot say enough about what they have done with a boat that sat in mothballs basically for 2 years and has come out and run with everybody like it's been on the circuit running all along.
Yeah, and 2 years ago when the boat was damaged in Tri-Cities the last time that it had been run. They lost a propeller that shook the back end of the boat apart and did devastating damage to the back of the boat. And the crew was able to get it all back together, got it to where it was ready to come back to a race. They were just waiting for the first one. They had some conflicts last year that kept them from racing, but they're back this year, running very well. The boat came right out of the box strong. Mr. Tom Anderson and the guys down there are working real hard to keep this thing on the water and make it go good. I think that Bobby will do a great job of driving the boat. He's a fun driver to watch. He's very personable. He's very animated when you talk to him and excited about his position, being able to drive this boat and run the race, and just going to be fun to watch.
And we see him going slowly around the race course here. We mentioned that yesterday he got flagged with an 80-mile-an-hour violation. It cost him dearly after a great run in his second heat. So he is out running slowly on the race course right now. I would assume, John, he's checking timing marks in 80 miles an hour, and he wants to make sure that doesn't happen again.
I think so too. That was a very costly mistake yesterday, and I think that it's going to play a big part of today's races as the guys go out there and fight for position, trying to get the inside lane or the lane that they want to run in. It's difficult sometimes to be able to maneuver without dropping under 80 miles an hour, and the rule's been changed to where if you drop below 80 miles an hour and it doesn't affect the outcome of the race or give you an advantage, you're not necessarily just disqualified for that. You can still go out and gather points and things, but in this case it was a position where it wasn't a move that was going to give him an advantage. He was disqualified, lost 400 points. That's a huge setback.
It is a big setback for him, and now we see him charging hard to the start-finish line down through the lower corner, and he's running hard up at the top end right now. Bobby King, one of 4 rookies on the H1 Unlimited circuit this year, coming off the top end of the race course, and he will come down driving for Rob Graham, the U12. Graham Trucking, so very good to have Rob Graham and this team back on the circuit. Hopefully we will see them next year. A hot lap right there for Bobby King, young man out of Shelby Township, Michigan. He was actually born in Canada, but now resides in Michigan. Great young guy you mentioned, the son of Jimmy King. We had the two of them on the water together last week over in the Tri-Cities, and that hasn't happened very often. We've had a father and son team on the water before. It has happened. You've got to go back to 1972 when Bill Sterrett Sr. and Terry Sterrett were on the water together at the World Championship Regatta in Madison, Indiana. They were drawn into heats a couple times, but only got to actually race together once, but they did do it. As Bobby puts another hot one on the course. You talked about it yesterday. From my perspective, we've got basically the same weather we had yesterday morning. We've got an overcast sky. It's a little bit humid, but clearly the water conditions are very, very good, and a lower temperature.
Lower temperature. The engines definitely like that. This thicker air, if you will, allows the boat to fly a little bit easier and get off the turns a little bit quicker. The dense air also allows the engine to make a little bit more horsepower, a little bit cooler that way. And so I think that's going to change a little bit. And there was some rumors that we might even get some rain, and these things don't have any issues running in the rain. They like the water, and the water injection to the engine is fine as well. It's a little bit of a slowdown, I guess, for the fans to have to deal with the rain. It makes it more difficult to see the boats, and of course, walking around in the pits wet is not much fun.
50 years ago, on race day in 1973 in Seattle, the famous race in the rain. I was there. I think you said you were there as well. There we go. Kim's father, who our producer engineer, Kim Meredith here, pointed at her father was here. And I remember doing a race here in 1995, and I was just helping out a little bit on the broadcast, and one of our pit reporters made the comment as the rain was pouring down that he was going to step away from the microphone and he was going to jump in the lake in an effort to dry off a little bit. We've had some doozies out here on Lake Washington, but 50 years ago, we go back to the race in the rain, as it is sometimes called, or it's often referred to as the greatest race nobody ever saw.
Yeah. Well, we've had a bunch of them, different places, different race courses where we've had to deal with the rain, and I just try to make light of that if we can, and just let everybody know. Excuse us for the pause. We're resurfacing the track.
Resurfacing the track. There you go. The H1 Unlimited Riders Panel on the H1Unlimited.com website. I'm part of that Riders Panel, and They throw questions at us, and then we're supposed to just comment to it. And after what we went through back east at Guntersville and Madison with the thunderstorms and the rain and the hail and everything else we could throw at it, we were all asked to recount some of our memories where weather has impacted things. And I brought up the race in the rain. I said that, and I said it yesterday, that was maybe the greatest heat of competition I ever saw. And part of it was because you really couldn't see it. There was that whole other added element to it. But you're right, there has been an awful lot of racing where weather and even darkness, and gosh, I think it was 2011 in Madison where it was so hot we had people passing out in the pit area. Weather can play a role, but right now it looks like it would play a good role in the racing.
I think so too. Like I say, it's easier for the drivers to be able to see the buoy, see the race course like this. You don't have the glare of the sun that's coming up off the water and off the windscreen and that sort of thing. So the engines definitely like the cooler weather, the cooler temperatures, that sort of thing, and they could even deal with some rain if we got it. So I think we're in for a good day, regardless of the weather.
So we've had a successful run, at least I would assume it is a successful run by Bobby King in the U12 to Graham Trucking. We're going to put some hand signals down there to our H1 Unlimited live stream guys, see if maybe they can pull that points list up on the screen. We'll talk about points that have been earned by our race team so far through the weekend. We had our top point getter up there. It was Corey Peabody in the U9, the Beacon Plumbing, with 870 points. And then we've got the sheets in front of us. We'll walk down the racing we had yesterday and kind of quickly run through the heats a little bit. There we have on the screen Corey Peabody, 870 points. John, that's always important because earning points is how you get into the final and how you get on the front row of the final. And it's the old line, you can't win it unless you're in it, and you got to be one of those top 6 point getters to get on the front row of that final.
That's exactly right. There will only be six of these boats that'll make the final, so a couple of them are going to end up on the trailer there. And the way that's determined is by points. Corey's done an excellent job there in winning those 2 heats. That's 400 points per heat. That's a big advantage, and it gives the crew some confidence. It gives Corey some confidence, and kind of puts the other guys on the lookout. What's Corey doing? And we need to pay attention to him, and he'll get a lot of attention in whatever heat he's in next.
Well, and I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it until it ends. So far, nobody solved the Corey Peabody puzzle. If he has finished, he has been on top. Our second place point getter is our top qualifier from the weekend. That is Andrew Tate in the U91, the Goodman Real Estate. He has 700 points. Teammate J. Michael Kelly is in third place in the Bright Red Beacon Electric. They have 685 points. So these teams that we're talking about right here on the top of the points ladder, they are in good shape right now as far as working their way into the final. Dustin Eccles sits in spot number 4, 605 points. They've been kind of quiet, John, but here they sit in fourth place with 605 points. Looking good. You don't win this thing until the final heat.
That's exactly right, and I know that they're working on finding that combination that works the best. They appear to have top end, and shoot speed on everybody. Typically, when you have that top end, you give it up somewhere else on the race course, whether it's mid-range or coming off the turns, and they don't seem to have the snap coming off the exit pin that some of the other boats do. So you'll see him when he's qualifying or testing or even starting, he runs deep into the turn there and gets a long run so that he can have a good head of steam going when he gets to the start-finish line there. Where he pays the price is when he gets into the turns. If he's in an inside lane and the boat gets bogged down some, or he gets pinched and has to come off the throttle, it takes a long time to get it rolling again.
In fifth place on the points ladder is the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. Jamie Nielsen, 599 points. And rounding out the top 6 is our defending national high points champion, the U1, the Miss HomeStreet, the boat out of Madison, Indiana, sponsored by HomeStreet Bank here in the local Pacific Northwest region. Dylan Runney, the rookie driver, sitting with 519 points. 7th, and on the outside looking in as it sits right now, is the U60, the Beast Unleashed, presents the Miss Thriftway. Rookie Gunnar O'Farrell has garnered 424 points. John, I had a conversation this morning with Chief Referee Rick Sandstrom. Gunnar had to start 5 seconds behind and on the outside yesterday. According to the chief referee, he can now move to the front row, but he will still be on the outside. But now he can start with everybody. So look for Gunnar to be on the outside, but now he can use those timing marks and try and put it on the line when the clock says go.
Absolutely, and I think that'll make a big difference. I mean, when you give everybody a 5-second head start on the clock, 5 seconds, at these speeds is a long lead, and at this point he can, not have to worry about that. He can be there with the boys. He can make a good start on the outside. That boat turns well. This is a big race course. It's a long ways around when you're on the outside there, but at least he's on the front row.
He will be on the front row with the guys, so that'll be good. And if you haven't yet seen this boat, it really, really, really looks good on the water. So happy to have that new sponsor, the Beast Unleashed. I like it. I know I'm always over-enunciating or emphasizing the Beast, and I like it. The Beast Unleashed. We hope they have a great weekend here this weekend. Glad to have them with us as a new sponsor. We talked about Bobby King sitting in the 8th spot with the U12, the Graham Trucking, 265 points, but man, he coughed up 300 of them because of that 80-mile-an-hour violation. In 9th on the list there, we have the 440, only 30 points. The boat got qualified, thus the qualifying 30 points. Unfortunately, Brent Hall came up 1 lap short, so they will not be competing in today's racing. So there's our top 8. Going to step away from the microphone for just 1 moment. I will be right back. Mr. Walters, you can carry the show for a moment.
All right. Well, I'm glad that I get the opportunity to just be here and be involved with this. It's so much fun to spend time on the shores of Lake Washington here. Some of my best days have been on this lake. Some of my worst days have been on this lake. And it's always fun to come back and see friends and everybody that's involved in the sport and kept me involved in the sport. So I think that we're looking forward to a great race this weekend. You can see by the speeds, by the quality of the equipment in the boat here and the boats that are in the pits here, they're very close. Any kind of mistake, any sort of little advantage that you can put your team in front is going to be a big difference maker here. So I'm looking forward to a great race. I think it's going to be good. I just hope it's safe. We had a little incident yesterday there where one of the boats ended up being damaged by some rooster tails and some things, and I hope that everybody keeps it under control. We all stay right side up and end this day on a happy note.
Keep the boat sunny. How did you do? I stepped away for 30 seconds. How did you do? Did you carry the broadcast?
I talked. I said a lot of things. I don't know if I carried the broadcast.
Oh, we're getting thumbs up down there. I think you did. So it almost looks like the same graphic on the screen that we had because we're looking at the same guy's picture at the top of the list again. But these are our national high points. And before we start down this list, I was thinking coming in this morning, we kind of have the trifecta today. When you really take a step back and look at this, you can explain, and you can talk to many of these drivers, and they will say they all circle this race on Lake Washington because it is such a big event to win in Seattle. And today, we mix in the Gold Cup and the National High Points Championship. So we got 3 big things on the line. And one of our duties today, John, is to keep up with all of the points. Kim has got her abacus out here. She's going to be ready to go. We got the stat man upstairs. He will be giving us numbers as we go through. And Nick and Kim are great at providing us with scenarios. And it'll be scenarios about who can clinch the National High Points Championship with this finish or that finish. Meanwhile, we have the backdrop of the oldest active motorsports trophy. Oh, this is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. And like you mentioned, this is the last race of the season, so everybody wants to win the last one. Everybody wants to win in their hometown here in Seattle, and Seattle's got so much history. It's just fun to be here and be part of that, and everybody likes to win whenever they can, and I think just, racing in Seattle is a winning thing for everyone. The fans are so good here. The sponsors are so good. Everybody is involved. It's so much history from, way back when the slow-mos came out that it's fun to be part of it.
It is. So let's take a look at our National High Points leaderboard. Sitting on top again, as he is here at the event, Corey Peabody, 4,350 points. He missed a couple of heats in Madison. That's been how dominant that boat has been. We have a short season with only the 4 races. Missing a couple of heats could be devastating. He spun out in Madison, Indiana, didn't get any points in that particular heat, and then didn't make the final, but here he sits on top with 4,350. And if you think it's going well for Strong Racing, look at that number 2 boat coming in there, the Beacon Electric teammate J. Michael Kelly with 4,184 points. And on down the list we go. Jamie Nielsen came to the Tri-Cities atop that leaderboard by the wide margin of 1 point. That was kind of fun to have Jamie Nielsen atop by 1. I know they enjoyed it down in that camp. That's the U11 Legend Yacht Transport presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. And I know we were all very happy for Scott and Shannon Rainey. They know how to win. They know what it takes, but they haven't quite gotten there yet as a team. But sitting number 3 in high points, that's pretty good.
It's very good, and a great deal of work has been put into the boat over the winter time that's showing up now. Scott and all the people down there have been working so hard on it, and Jamie just does a great job of driving the boat. He makes up some of the difference and puts the boat in a position to win, even sometimes when they're not the fastest boat on the race course. He gets that inside lane. He makes a great start and makes everybody chase him and run him down. And when you're in that position, that makes a big difference. And if he can get out front and make a good start like that, and an old friend of mine, Bill Muncie, one time said, you don't always have the fastest boat, and you can still win the race if you drive it properly. And Jamie's doing that.
Jamie is proving that old adage. 4th place, and we talked about a new sponsor down there with the Beast Unleashed. Well, we've got another new sponsor here aboard the U40, the Flavor Pack. They joined Bucket List Racing in the Tri-Cities last week. So glad to have those folks on board. The boat just looks beautiful. You were talking about Dustin earlier and how you think he's got perhaps top end on everybody here on the race course, and how that might be a plus or a minus here on this particular race course. But they come in 4th place with 3,387 points. Been a good year. We said it yesterday. It's kind of the same story with Scott and Shannon Rainey in the U11. One of these days, Kelly and Sharon Stockland are going to win a boat race. They ended up on the 2nd level of the podium in Tri-Cities last week, but one of these days they're going to step to the top step and get that victory. And John, I just hope I'm there when it happens, because that's going to be a fun party.
I do too. It will be a fun party, and well deserved. They do so much work down there. The boat looks so good. They do a wonderful job of maintaining, keeping things right. They're always on the leading edge of technology. They build the parts. Kelly's a great machinist. They do a lot of work in the shop there that really shows up when they get to the race course here. You're right. It's just a matter of time until all the pieces fall in place, and they're not only in a position to win a race. They have the stuff down there to be a dominant team.
Absolutely. Number 5 on our list, maybe a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people, but the U1, our defending national high points champion, the Miss HomeStreet, got a new driver this year. Dylan Runney had to start the season out as a rookie, and some of those restrictions, he was the one starting on the outside and 5 seconds behind everybody. But they come in the number 5 spot with 3,084 points. And if you're listening to this broadcast or follow H1 Unlimited and the racing this year, do not count that boat out. We all know what that boat is capable of. And if you give Dylan Runney the jump, or he gets the jump on you, look out, because you're going to have your hands full trying to drive around that powder blue and white rocket.
Absolutely. Dylan does a really nice job of driving the boat. It's a tough position for him to be in. They were a dominant team over the past few years and have won Gold Cups and national championships. They had a great group of people that have come along to help with the engines and all the things that it takes to make this boat fast. When when Dylan came in as a rookie, like you say, there were a couple of races there where he had to start on the outside. He had to be 5 seconds behind, and in such a short season, those points that you're giving up by being a rookie, it's tough to make those up in only 4 races. So he's done a great job hanging in there, looking for his opportunity, and he'll make some of his own luck today.
Our top 6 is rounded out by the U91, the Goodman Real Estate, with Andrew Tate. I am told we are about to be visited on the race course by Jamie Nielsen, and the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. Jamie Nielsen, this guy is turning a lot of heads. And it's interesting, we talked about him yesterday. He's not making mistakes. He's putting the boat in a position to win. He's getting an inside lane. They are winning heats. And Shannon Rainey has openly said he's driving so well. She goes, I'm having to tell some of these other owners, you keep your hands off my driver, because she really likes him. They really like him. And we keep talking about one of these days, that's going to happen too, and Jamie's going to climb up on the top of the podium.
I think so too, and it is just a matter of time. And who knows? Maybe today is that day. With just a little bit of luck, they can be in a position to go out and win this 113th running of the APBA Gold Cup. And he does a very fine job of driving the boat and gets everything out of it that they have the ability to put in it for him, and makes up the difference by a great job of driving. He forces other drivers to make mistakes trying to catch him. He puts the boat on the inside lane, which is obviously the shortest way around the race course. The boat works well in rough water and those kinds of conditions. So best of luck, Jamie. I think he'll put on a good show whatever place he comes in.
I would agree. So we've lost our national high points list, but you saw it there. You saw the top 6 boats, and what is of interest there, I think, was the number 6 boat was the U91, the Goodman Real Estate with Andrew Tate. I know a group of us sat together before the season started, and we were going around the dinner table. Who do you think's going to do this? Who's going to be your national high points champion? And we all threw a couple of dollars on the table. I picked Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And here he is sitting at number 6. I don't think I'm going to win that particular bet we were talking about. But Andrew Tate, this is the short season. They missed a whole race. They missed all of, unfortunately for them, a hometown race on the Ohio River in Madison because of the unfortunate accident that occurred in Guntersville. And actually, it wasn't the accident itself to their boat that really caused the damage. They were unfortunately impacted by the U40 bucket list racing at the time. Afterwards, after they were upside down in the water, the U40 impacted the upside down 91. And my understanding is that's where the bulk of the damage occurred.
Yeah, and absolutely, and that's a big concern and consideration with these boats. They're such low profile and everything these days to be aerodynamic and hydrodynamic and slip through the air a little bit quicker and easier. They're hard to see even when they're right side up, and you get in a boat where it's upside down and literally it blends in with the water line. Most of the bottoms of the boats are painted white, so it's difficult to see. There's so much water in the air, it's hard to see them anyway, and that could have been a much worse situation than it was, as bad as it was, and the 40 ran into him, managed to knock the rudder bracket and things off of it, and it was a scary situation. They had Andrew had a difficult time getting out of the boat. There's an airline on the boat that goes to the driver's air mask to supply him with air in the event of the boat being upside down, and heaven forbid we're unconscious or unable to take care of himself. One of the things, it's an inspectable item, and you actually get the driver out of the boat when he's on the trailer. Make sure that hose can come at least 15 feet away from the center of the steering wheel. He couldn't get out of the boat because it was tangled up on something inside there, so he had to take his helmet and mask and everything off in order to get out of the boat. Now you've got a driver exposed, standing on the boat that's already difficult to see. We're just very, very fortunate that he didn't get hurt.
And just to go back and complete the full loop on that particular item you're talking about, I'm familiar with that and the fact they've got to have X number of feet on that airline. That has all been resolved.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. I was talking with your counterpart last night, and that subject came up. Let's take a look at a little bit of the racing that occurred yesterday. We ran 4 heats of competition yesterday, heats 1A, 1B, 2A, and 2B. 1A was the same draw that we had for Heat 1A in the Tri-Cities last week. It basically was Team Madison versus Team Strong. We had the HomeStreet, the Beacon Electric, the Beacon Plumbing, and the Goodman Real Estate in the heat. It was a good one to start our 2023 APBA Gold Cup. Once again, Corey Peabody showed he is a force to be reckoned with. He came home with a first place and 400 points. Andrew Tate gave him a run for a while in that one. He came home in second place and 300 points, third place. Went to J. Michael Kelly in the Beacon Electric. And as we saw, Dylan Runney was a little bit early at the start. He had to back off of the throttle. All 4 boats hit the line pretty much at the same time, but one of them, the HomeStreet, just didn't have any speed, and it was pretty much over for them, and they unfortunately trailed the field.
That's a real difficult position to be in, and like I say, this is a big race course. It's got big wide turns, short straightaways, so it's real important to get an inside lane so you can take a little shorter way around the race course. And Dylan rolled the dice. He tried to roll up there early, trying to secure that first lane, and when he did that, he ended up being up there a little bit early, had to back off the throttle some, and when he did, everybody just drove by him, had boat speed on him, and he was playing catch up from the very beginning.
And as our screen will show everybody, the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse, is on the race course. Jamie Nielsen up the backstretch right now. We're going to go through the draws for Heat 3A and 3B, but for right now, John Walters and I are going to step away from the broadcast for just a moment, and when we come back, John, we are going to welcome our fans here along the shoreline. We're going to open up the public address system as the gates have been opened now. Our fans are filing in. We're getting closer It's the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup and APBA Gold Cup on Lake Washington. We'll be right back. What do we have to do to go on the PA?
Just tell me.
Can we go on the PA?
Yes, you can.
All right.
We got like 6 points already up, and it's okay.
What?
We got 6 points.
We use the same opening I've been doing, right? Reinvent the wheel now. Ready for fun? Morning, Mr. C. Are we hot as we go? Hello, race fans, and hello, Seafair. Welcome to the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup, APBA Gold Cup, and Boeing Air Show on Lake Washington and over Lake Washington here in South Seattle, south of the I-90 floating bridge. My name is Brad Luce, and along with my producer engineer Kim Meredith, it is my responsibility to keep you, the fans, apprised of everything happening this weekend, and it will be a busy weekend. It already has been, but it promises to be a very, very busy day. We'll keep you apprised of everything going on. When it comes time to put the show in the air, we will bring Mark Christopher on board with us. He will tell you everything you need to know about the air show presented by Boeing. So it will be a big day here. We've got an overcast sky, but we've got great conditions on the water for our H1 unlimited hydroplanes. But working with Kim and me on the tower this weekend is a man who needs no introduction to hydroplane racing. He literally has done everything associated with our sport. He's been a crew chief, he's been a driver, he has been a referee, he's currently an inspector. He's literally done it all. But maybe more importantly, because it's something they can never take away from him, he's the man who won the first ever race driving a turbine-powered unlimited hydroplane. His name is John Walters, and I am very happy to have him on board with me. John, good morning. Welcome to Seafair.
Good morning, Brad. It's really great to be here, and thanks for that wonderful introduction. I hope that I can say enough good things to be able to live up to all those things that you just talked about. So it's fun to be here. I mentioned before, Lake Washington is got a very special place in my heart, and I've had some of my very best days here and some of my very best worst days here. So it's fun to be here, be part of this, or the 113th running of the APBA Gold Cup in Seattle.
And John, we haven't talked about some of those not so fun days that you had here on Lake Washington. Quite honestly, I was going to stay away from those. But now that you stepped in that mud puddle, we may come back to it at some point in time. But that's all a part of being a boat racer, right? You have good days, you have bad days.
It is, and in the end, you just hope that there's more checks in the good day boxes than there are in the bad day boxes, and I certainly think that that's true. Boat racing opened so many doors for myself and my family, allowed us to go places, do things, meet people we would have never done without it. So I have a great debt to pay to unlimited hydroplane racing, and I hope that I can pay back a little piece of it today.
Well, we are just very, very happy to have you here with us. It's interesting you talk about that. As a boat racer, that's part of the deal. If you don't accept the fact that you're going to crash a boat at some point in time as part of the mix and have it in there, you're kind of going in with blinders on.
Exactly. When I started racing J-Stock outboards way back in the day, my dad was an Air Force guy, and one of the sayings in the Air Force is there's two kinds of pilots: those that have had accidents and those that are going to have accidents. And my dad taught me to learn to play by that rule and those rules, and so I always had the very best of all the safety equipment, everything that was out there. I had to have before I was able to go drive a race boat. So I thank my dad for that. I thank all the manufacturers of that equipment and all the people that do those sort of things, and very blessed that I was spared and get to come back and be part of this.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and Jamie Nielsen has returned to the pit area driving the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. He is back to the dock. We see him on the monitor there, and we want to welcome also again all our fans watching and listening to us online on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. We've been talking to them for the last 10 minutes, so some of what they just listened to they've already heard, but we're glad to have them on board. It's going to be a big crowd here today, John. There was a big crowd here yesterday, and I'm watching that log boom fill in over there. There was a ton of floating boats over there tied to that log boom, and I expect we're going to see that many again. The boats are filling in, and big crowd, big day, lots going on.
Looking forward to it, and I think this is a big deal for most people in Seattle. I grew up as a kid, on the banks of Lake Washington here and on the shore, watching these boats run, and just love the sport, love everything about it. It's such a big part of history is boat racing in Seattle and the rivalries of other cities and other towns like Detroit and different places. It's fun to be here. It's fun to be part of it. I'm glad that the sport seems to be on a bit of an uptick right now. We've got new sponsors involved and old sponsors that are continuing to be involved, and Beacon Plumbing and Flavor Pack and all the people up and down the beach that are working so hard, new owners, new drivers. It really seems to be on an uptick right now, and I'm just pleased to be part of it.
So we have the course open on the schedule until 10:05 this morning for H1 Unlimited testing, but I've just got a note here from Kim Meredith, who keeps us all in line up here on the start-finish line. I believe testing has been ended with the return to the dock of Jamie Nielsen and the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. I believe it's ended because nobody else wants to come out. I think we're going to go straight to our J-Stock Hydros. So those of you on the south side of the pit area, if you haven't ever seen the J-Stocks run and see, these are kids. They can start at 9 years old. Is that right, John?
That's exactly right. 9 years old is the age limit on it. And these kids are so excited. I mean, they're so involved, and so they're going to be the future of our sport. The Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum has put on a program where kids can come down there with their fathers, help actually build the boats that they're going to drive. Most of them are sponsored or represent one of the unlimited teams in the pits. These kids are on top of the world right now, doing living the dream, as they say.
Yeah, and you talk about going to school in the fall, going back to school and seeing all your buddies, and you get to tell them about the time you brought a boat back to the pit area during Seafair, and when you stepped off, there was a TV camera there, and somebody wanted to actually interview you.
Isn't that cool?
That's a good discussion. So if you're down there and can see them, we can see just the top end of their little race course, but these kids, they didn't sleep, I'm sure, a wink last night. They are ready to get out. TV is here, radio's here. It's a big day for them. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you haven't ever seen that and you're down that way, make sure you find a way to fit that in. Race fans, due to the size of the HomeStreet Bank Cup and the thousands of people that will be in attendance today, it is impossible for us to make announcements on the public address system of a personal nature. For your safety and convenience, if you become lost or separated from the people you came to the HomeStreet Bank Cup with, please contact any uniformed police officer, security personnel, or medical station for assistance. And maybe right now, take a moment to get together with your group and plan a place and time to meet should you become separated. Personal announcements on the public address system are limited to only medical emergencies. Thank you for your help and enjoy the HomeStreet Bank Cup and, John, the APBA Gold Cup, because it's going to be a big day.
It's going to be a very big day, and the Gold Cup is our biggest race of the season. It's the oldest race in professional motorsports as far as a perpetual trophy. And I'd just like to say one thing about one special guy that's down here who's a close friend of mine and the family as well, Mike Hansen, that works as the crew chief on the team from Madison, Indiana down there. Mike's the only guy in the pits right now that has won a Gold Cup as a driver and as a crew chief. What a feat. What a cool thing to be able to say I've done that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that's a big feat. So I saw Mike this morning, but you know Mike. He was all business.
All business.
It's race day. It was all business on the face of Mr. Hansen. Seafair would also like to thank the Boeing Airplane Company. John, this is a great, I love this line, and I read this copy, but to me, this says so much. Listen to this sentence. Boeing has been a Seafair
The Albert Lee Appliance Cup Championship Race is brought to you by Viking, delivering professional quality appliances to your home and outdoor living areas. And is presented for Seafair by Albert Lee Appliance. We're more than just high-end for over 73 years.
The starter clock is brought to you by J.P. Morgan Chase, a proud sponsor of Seafair. Chase, making it easy for your personal and business banking needs to start and run strong. The conditions, as the temperatures have continued to warm up, we're now at 80 and possibly a little beyond, but almost no wind. Water's still calm, although these boats will certainly churn them up. And here are all the drivers who will be vying for this year's championship, the Albert Lee Appliance Cup. They are Steve David in the Alberto, Jimmy Shane in the Graham Trucking. The Boitano Homes has Mike Webster at the controls. J. Michael Kelly in the Beacon Plumbing, Jamie Nilsson, Snoqualmie Casino, Kip Brown in the Spirit of Cutter, and finally John Zimmerman in that trailer boat, the Fox Plumbing boat. We go to Lee Stoll in the Alberto pits.
Boy, you know, we haven't been blowing the pressure on Steve David out of proportion. This is the first time he's gone into the final with a perfect weekend record, the fastest qualifying time. And speaking of records, of course, he is chasing Muncie's 4 consecutive win record. Now, the crew says that they actually put in some new equipment. They've got their best equipment out there for him. He's not going to troll for position no matter how important it is. He's just going to trust himself.
All right, Lee. Will Jimmy Shane in Graham Trucking, will he pose a threat? Let's check in with Chris Francis.
Well, Steve, final heat set up for the Graham Trucking number 5. Jimmy Shane assures me that jumping the 1-minute startup buoy will not be a problem. And it's all on the driver, and Chip can appreciate it. He wants to get that inside lane, see if he can hold off the Alberto, which is slightly faster boat.
That's Chris Francis in the pits. The time has come on Cairo TV. Cairo.com, all around the world. Here is the voice of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing calling this race for the 43rd time. Here's Mike Fitzsimmons.
Thank you very much, Steve. And we have hydroplanes all over this race course, some moving, some not. In fact, we have 2 of them virtually dead in the water down in the south corner, having just fired up once again is Jimmy Shane. He wants very badly, of course, to get that inside lane. He wants to race from there. He's going to be able to get it. As far as Steve David is concerned, he's not going to contest it. But the reality is that he has some others who might. And here we have Kip Brown now moving into that lower corner. As we've still got 12 seconds, they must not cross the yellow buoy exit at the end of this turn. And at the moment, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds left, and it looks like no one will. We're at 0 and nobody did. Now, the question is what happens at the next yellow buoy and whether or not anyone decides to take a lane away. It does not look as though anyone will. It appeared that J. Michael might give it a try, Chip Hanauer, but he decided against it.
Steve David is in lane 4 like I predicted, but he's got 3 capable boats inside. Maybe not quite as fast as Steve David, but he's got to be there at the line with them. He cannot let any of these 3 get away from him.
Now we are at the point where you have to worry about the start-finish line and the jump. And these are the various intervals where drivers have made their mistakes. We are awfully early. We're at 19 seconds now in the upper corner. This is only about a 9-second run to the line. So the drivers are going to have to throttle up. Now, where will Steve David be? He'll stay in the 4 lane, and he's going to stay out of trouble. But he's got some fast boats inside of him. This could be interesting. As they come down to the line, do we have anybody over the line too soon? I think maybe one. It appears it's the Qatar. The cutter might be over the line too soon. Steve David in the 4 lanes coming across, and whoa, he's pinching just a little bit as they come through the corner. We've got somebody pinched down there. That could be a problem for someone, and it may very well be Steve David who might get in trouble over that one. As they come off the corner, though, Steven is moving down the back chute, trying to catch the Graham Trucking, which has the lead with Jimmy Shane at the present time. We got a good boat race going down there, Chip.
We do. Jimmy Shane has not got quite the boat that Steve David does, but he has the shorter way around the course. And I think it's going to be really tough for Steve David to run him down. Jimmy Shane's getting away from him. He can't let that happen.
He's pulling away. Kip Brown was in the fracas there in the corner for a bit, but Kip Brown's got himself in trouble, it looks like. We haven't got that official yet, but by our clock, he certainly was. Steven is pulling an awful lot of horsepower down into that lower corner now at the end of lap number 1. It is the Graham Trucking, Jimmy Shane out front, and the Oh Boy Alberto second. Physically in third place is the Spirit of Cutter. And the 22 boat, that's Mike Webster in the Boitano Homes, is in fourth position overall.
Nobody jumped. We thought for sure from our perspective that Kip Brown jumped, but he did not jump.
All right, in that case, then, Kip Brown is losing ground to the other two, and it appears that Stephen David is losing ground to Jimmy Shane. Little traffic in that upper corner, but staying outside wide is Jamie Nilsson. He's not going to get him in any kind of trouble up there. And Jimmy Shane has gotten well over a rooster tail lead going right now at the end of lap number 2.
Steve David is in trouble. Shane is increasing his lead lap after lap. Steve David is on the outside. Steve David is in big trouble right now.
And the water's pretty rough. There's been an awful lot of wakes down there, and Steve David's riding some slop as he goes through that lower corner once again. Jimmy Shane has it all his way after 2 and working on lap number 3, and the Graham Trucking halfway down the back chute now, and it appears to be able to maintain its lead now. They've got some boat speed. Whatever bullet they put in this time was enough to match or exceed the Oh Boy Alberto's speed.
What a change for Jimmy Shane. He looked like initially in the weekend it was going to be hard for him to get into the final because he did not finish his first heat. He did what he needed to do to get into the final, and then he forgot all about that. He made a perfect start, and unless he has mechanical problems, I cannot see how that boat right there, the Alberto, can run him down.
End of lap number 3, 2 more to go now for Jimmy Shane in the Graham Trucking, well out front of the Oh Boy Alberto. Both boats riding very nicely. Third place is Kip Brown in the Spirit of Cutter. Fourth place, it will be it'll be J. Michael Kelly driving the Beacon Plumbing. The 48 boat to Snoqualmie Casino is actually back a bit. And if they come out of that lower corner once again and back down the back chute, Jimmy Shane has still got command of this Albert Lee Cup at Seafair.
This was a great drive. This is a guy winning a boat race with a boat that's not as good as the competition. And that's all you can ask from a driver, is to win with less.
And he's driving the sponsons off this race boat because he knows one tick of the clock is practically all he's got over Steve David, and it could be a different. White flag goes up. One more lap for Jimmy Shane as he brings the Graham Trucking down into the lower corner for the last time. Steve David, I think, sees the writing on the wall by now. Unlikely, unless something unusual happens, that Jimmy Shane will be deprived of this Albert Lee Cup at Seafair. But if there's any possibility, the pressure remains on because the Oh Boy Alberto is keeping up the speed and the pace, but he's still almost 2 rooster tails down.
I have to say that this year is a huge disappointment for Steve David. He came into the year with the best equipment. He wanted the Gold Cup. He didn't get it. If you can't get the Gold Cup, you definitely want the Albert Lee Cup. He's not going to get that. Big disappointment for Steve David and the Alberto team.
Checkered flag rises for Jimmy Shane. He will win the Albert Lee Appliance Cup at Seafair. It is the 5-boat Graham Trucking across the line first. Second, it is the Oh Boy Alberto with Steve David. He will not tie Muncie's record this afternoon. At a distant third place, Spirit of Cutter is the 95 boat with Kip Brown. And way off in the distance, it is J. Michael Kelly in the Beacon Plumbing, just coming out of the upper corner and moving down to get scored at this time. But it is the story this afternoon that Jimmy Shane turns it into a Cinderella win today. One that was probably unlikely because when he sat up there dead in the water yesterday, it didn't look very good for him.
Jimmy Shane did to Steve David what Steve David has done to Dave Villwock the last 3 years, which is take a boat that isn't as fast and win with it. But the tables got turned on Steve David, and a young man by the name of Jimmy Shane took a boat that wasn't quite as good and beat him with it.
And we were talking earlier on about the theme about the young drivers, the up and coming. This is what you're going to see. It's going to happen more often now than not. And it's going to be difficult because now, guess what? There are 2 top dogs again in this game. Dave Villwock may be gone, but Jimmy Shane just arrived.
You know, and Graham Trucking has done so much for Seafair. They have sponsored the lights. They've sponsored in the past, they sponsored the lights. They sponsored the Formula One. They've always sponsored a boat. They've just been so good for Seafair. So they're well deserving to win this race.
I think there are a couple of things that we know at this very moment. That Steve David is going to be very gracious because that's the kind of guy that he is. And that Jimmy Shane may be doing some celebrating with the new baby tonight and the family because this young man has just put himself right squarely in to the unlimited hydroplane picture because this is the biggest race on the circuit. This is the one that everybody looks at. You win here in Seattle and you are really saying something to the world of unlimited hydroplane racing.
What do you think? Do you think Steve David comes back next year to try to get that Gold Cup and get back to Seattle? Or does he say, you know, I've had enough? I think he's got some thinking to do.
And I think he's got an off season to do just that. Yeah. But he is a very competitive guy, as we know. As nice a man as he is, he can be a hard-nosed competitor. And right now, this young man can say, I beat the best on the circuit this year, and I won in Seattle. That is Jimmy Shane, and no, he's not at all happy.
No, he's got to learn to cheer up when he wins. Now, this kid, he's got an amazing amount of talent, and he's really good for the sport. You'll see in the interview, he's just a charming person. He's got the chops to be a great race driver. Like Steve David, he's gracious. And look at how happy he is. I don't think he realizes what's happened.
Well, you know, it's in the genes with the Shane family. His dad, his mom, his older sister, Kelly, they have all won national championships in different APBA inboard classes. So this guy knows how to drive, and this family has taught him well. And so as his crew, he's got a great crew, and he had a great boat under him today.
And Graham Trucking, as I said, is they've been a staple of Seafair.
They have.
I'm very happy for them.
Let's go to the pits. Chris Francis is standing by. I know, Chris, you don't have the driver yet, but you're with a bunch of happy guys.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, they filled this dock up here. Now they're wrestling around here on the boat. Big hugs for Jimmy Shane. He got out of the boat early, jumped up and down on top of it. He was just ecstatic. This is their 3rd win. Doha 1, Doha 2, and now Seafair. Boy, he's taking down the big ones, and he certainly took down a big one today, denying Steve David his 4th straight Albert Lee Cup as he gets some more congratulations here on the boat. Shane knew it was fast going in. It was just about that start, and he certainly did the job getting around that first turn and running that inside line just enough to hold off Steve David. So he's getting congratulations from all of his crew here as moving toward the dock here. Graham Trucking, as you mentioned, done so much for this sport and so much for this race weekend. And let me slide in and see if I can get Jimmy Shane here. He gets a few more hugs. And I knew I would see him again. He said, I knew you'd see me again. Hey, just talk about the start because it was all on you and you got the job done.
Yeah, you know, like I said, back in the truck, there was a million different scenarios we were going through in the head, and finally we were just like, you know what? We're going to go out there, race our own race. We're going to do what we think is the best thing to do, and that's what we did.
Now, you barely made it into this final. I know you had to win that heat. You had to win the second one, really finish second, and it was touch and go there that you didn't even be in this final.
We were definitely set back after Saturday not finishing the heat, but you know, the team kept at it. We got through the mechanical gremlins, figured out what we had to do to get the boat into the final, first of all, and then once we knew we were in the final, we said, you know what? We're going to throw everything we got at it, let it all hang out. I'm going to let the boat hang out on the water, and that's what we did.
And you got that checkered flag. What did it feel like? I mean, you got out of the boat early. You saw this crew here on the boat.
You know, this is huge for Ted Porter and the Formula team and Graham Trucking. Ted's never won Seafair all the years that he's owned the boats, and Rob has been a sponsor since like 1983. Always sponsored a boat at Seafair. this is the first time that Rob Graham has won.
Up and coming star right here, and he beat Steve David. Back to you guys.
And a very emotional young man at that. Let's head over to Lee Stoll in the Alberto pits where, again, Steve David standing by.